Boy, do I miss smoking. You'll sometimes hear people make that commentary to other people. They say it to themselves. And, if you say it enough and you say it long enough, you'll start to believe it. It's real important to recognize what your life really was like when you were smoking and what it's like now, and contrast the two. When people say they miss smoking, first off, they generally don't really miss smoking. They miss cigarettes. And it's not that they miss all their cigarettes, they miss the good cigarettes. But that's where it comes down to now, how many of those cigarettes were the good cigarettes? First question we need to ask, were there good cigarettes? Well, yeah, I think most smokers will say at some point in their lives they remember some cigarettes being good. Hey, even at the end of their smoking, they may remember some of the cigarettes as being good. But it's very important for them to recognize how many of those cigarettes were really good. This is one of the questions that I used to ask in my clinics a lot to get people to really think about this. When people would say they would smoke because they like smoking, and when they would say they really had good cigarettes, I would often ask them, well, which cigarettes in a given day, given 24-hour period, which ones really stick out in your mind as being really good cigarettes, the cigarettes you really enjoyed a lot? If I would ask this to a person who was smoking, 2 packs a day, sometimes 3 packs a day, they would often come up with the same cigarettes. They would say, I like the ones when I first get up in the morning, or the one when I first get up in the morning. Oh, and they enjoy the ones after meal. They like those a lot. And they'll come up with maybe a couple of more during the day that really stand out as really magical cigarettes to them. Ones they needed. They'll probably acknowledge that, but they really enjoyed. Okay. So we start adding those up. And the one after when they wake up, and the ones after meals, and a couple other they come up with, that's 5 or 6 cigarettes. But they were smoking 40 cigarettes a day, 50 cigarettes a day, 60 cigarettes a day. Where are those other cigarettes? Now, most of them they don't even remember. They just don't recall. They just automatically lit them up. There's some that they lit up that they hated as they were lighting them. There were people who took cigarettes, took a cigarette out of a pack, lit it, took a couple of drags. It was disgusting. They were mad at themselves. It was like horrible. They were embarrassed because of the environment they were in. It was inconvenience. It pulled them out of an important place they needed to be, but they were in withdrawal and they needed to deal with that more. And they put those cigarettes out in utter disgust. And then found themselves lighting another one 5 or 10 minutes later because they needed another cigarette. So those cigarettes were there. I'm not saying the good cigarettes didn't exist, but they were accompanied by all these other rotten cigarettes or insignificant, unrememberable cigarettes. And that's the point that they needed to understand. It wasn't that there weren't good cigarettes. Okay, there were some good cigarettes, but there were all these other rotten cigarettes going with it. And in combination, the good ones and the bad ones, all of them were harming them. It was eventually going to cripple them. It was going to kill them. And it's a matter of remembering all those rotten, all those good, all those consequences. It was a matter of seeing cigarettes accurately, the way they were at the end, not how they were at the beginning, when there were very few cigarettes smoked per day, meaning most of them were probably good. The first few days they were all miserable, but then after a while they became good, and then it took a long time before it kind of went over to the other direction where the majority were bad or, again, insignificant, and only a few were good. But it's a matter of remembering where they were at the end, because that's where they're going to go back to if a relapse occurs. They're going to go back to where they were at the end. And where they were at the end is they were so annoying or frightening or expensive or socially unacceptable. There were so many problems that were going with it that it made you make a decision. You put yourself into a drug withdrawal. You went through the struggle. If you did struggle, you went through that struggle to quit smoking, and you pulled it off. And if you lose this quit, you're going back to that way of life again. And you don't know you'll have the strength. You don't know you'll have the desire. You don't know you have the opportunity to quit again before something else goes wrong. Remember them the way they were. Were there some good ones? Okay, there were some good ones. But there were a lot of rotten ones going with them. And the good ones and the rotten ones, they were all killing you. See them for what they were. And the odds are you're not going to find yourself saying, boy, do I miss smoking? You may find yourself accurately saying every now and then, boy, I miss a cigarette every now and then. But when you look at the package deal that went with it, You're not going to walk away with the overall feeling of deprivation that you're missing something. You'll walk away with a feeling of accomplishment that, hey, you got through another moment here where you thought about a cigarette and you didn't take it. You'll be happy about that. You'll be proud about that, and you should be. And you'll be able to keep that life going of being smoke-free as long as you can desire, as long as you continue to stick to your personal commitment to never take another puff.